welcome to the Masterclass Raising Your Reporting Game. Just as a point of introduction, my name is Jeni Batte. I'm the Senior Director for the CX Advisory Team.
And I'm Cori, a Principal CX Advisor.
For those of you who are not familiar with the Medallia Advisory Team, we are a team of CX practitioners, and we spend a good deal of time helping to support and provide guidance and expertise to a number of organizations across multiple industries. And one of the things that we're focused on is ensuring that all of your CX and EX programs continue to mature over time and evolve. Obviously, all of the team members at Medallia want you to be successful, but we are laser focused on making sure that from point A of your customer journey all the way to the continuation of your program, that we're there to support and make sure that we're calling out the things that maybe you don't know or considerations you should be thinking about for your own organization. One of those topics, and the reason that we're here today, we spend a great deal of time on, is reporting. And it doesn't really matter where you're at currently when it comes to your reporting maturity. What really matters is how do we continue to focus on the right things to make sure that your reporting and the analytics that are being ingested and then shared out within your organization are actionable, they're meaningful. You're able to show ROI on a regular basis to your organization. So what I'd like to do is just kickstart what to expect in this session today. We're going to walk through a handful of items, and I'm going to get us started by talking a little bit about reporting maturity and really get a pulse check from all of you of where you feel that you're at based off of different phases that we often come across when partnering with clients. And then we're going to spend some time on what we know to be successful in our partnerships, thinking about persona-based reporting. Some of that may already be familiar with many of you, but sometimes this is brand new. And so we do want to spend some time just talking about what are some things that you can take away to go back to your team and potentially think about to continue to evolve your programs. And then we'll talk a little bit about identifying the who. Who are the individuals when we think about persona-based reporting that you need to be considering and making sure that those individuals have all the tools to be successful as we continue to invest more and more in these types of programs. Cori is then going to take us through an actual demo. What we wanted to do is give you a flavor for, by doing persona-based reporting, what to expect. So we actually have a persona, and we're going to walk you through her journey and what we were trying to do to accomplish her particular needs to make her successful, and how reporting played a significant role in being able to do that. So let's start with reporting maturity. Like I said, it doesn't really matter where you're at with reporting maturity at this moment in time. It just really matters of how you continue to evolve it with that continuous innovation. And the one call out I will have for this is, as you think about your own reporting structure, you've been hearing throughout the conference everything about future state and AI and those types of things. What we want to make sure that you're understanding about reporting is there are some things that you could be doing immediately in the short term wins versus long-term wins. So as we talk about some of these things, be thinking about it in that way. Reporting can be a very phased approach in terms of how we tackle evolving it. It doesn't have to be overnight. We get that question a lot of, well, what can we do in the short term versus the long term? We only have X number of resources to be able to do these specific things. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So starting with laying the foundation, what we wanted to do is identify, at least in our experience as advisors when talking to companies, where do most organizations start? And so we're titling this Laying the Foundations. You could also equate this to implementations or onboarding with Medallia. But what this really means is the initial phases of the partnership. What are we doing to make sure that we're standing up reporting for your organization? So I like to think of this as, let's say you're an organization that had a previous vendor partner, and you're making this change and transition. We have the surveys up and running. So everybody is very eager to start to see the data flowing into reporting. So we're moving at a pretty rapid pace to make sure that we get your program stood up and launched in a timely manner, because that's what stakeholders are hungry for. So we're using things like our best practices models and framework and architect to make sure that we're standing up the necessary roles for you. And many of you may be in this position right at the moment where you have maybe 3 or 4 user roles and the data's coming in, and we're spending a lot of time when we think about setting that up around what are the KPIs we want people to focus on? What are the things within the reporting tools that will be important to the different levels within your organization? We also may be exploring conversations with stakeholders to try to understand what is important to them or what is important to other key stakeholders to make sure that at the infancy stages of setting up reporting, that's what we're focused on. But what we're not necessarily always doing is, once those things are stood up, asking for feedback. So you may be in a situation where you've had reporting set up for 2 years. Nothing wrong with that, seems to be working. You're using the information appropriately, but do we really know how those user roles feel about the reporting that's available to them? Are they using it efficiently and effectively? Are they using it to the full potential? Is it too cumbersome? Is it overwhelming? So the next layer of this really gets into driving adoption. So some of you may be in this situation. Your reporting is set up, but now you're at a moment in time where, okay, I'm starting to see that maybe the stats for user engagement have begun to fall off, or a particular user role has not been logging in as consistently as you once hoped. And we all know this in this room, that adoption and engagement is critical to the success of any type of program. And there's a variety of different ways that we can report, but we want people investing at least a portion of their time understanding the data that's being ingested through the feedback channels. We know all of that is very important. So when we think about driving adoption, have you stopped to just take a look at what your health is in regards to reporting health? Are we looking at the number of users, how frequency? Maybe you have closed loop feedback, so we want to understand, are they doing this consistently and effectively? So another piece of this puzzle, as I said, is, are we capturing feedback from the user roles that are currently in place? And if the answer is no in your world, then I would suggest that that's an opportunity for you to take away. Because what tends to happen is data gets stagnant, or the program gets stagnant after a period of time. And if we don't understand how these users are actually taking this information, driving business change, then it's a lot of scores that they're just monitoring but doing nothing with. And you all know this. If you have an NPS score or an OSAT score, any of those KPIs, there's a lot of score chasing potentially going on. So when we think about driving adoption, it's not just simply getting them to the platform to understand the data. It's everything that goes into that. The text analytics, the verbatim comments, the drivers that influence and have a direct implications to your KPIs. So this is a very critical component of this to make sure that, again, wherever you're at in your reporting maturity, you need to get a pulse check from your users directly to make sure that you're evolving it the way that your organization needs for it to evolve. The third is expanding analytics. Some of you may be in this boat with your reporting maturity where you've done some of these things already, but now this is a matter of, I want to see financial information in my reporting. I want to see more segments of data, demographics. I want a text analytics refresh. I want action planner. I want customer profiles, you name it. The intent with the expanding analytics is now you're at a point in time where you are getting key stakeholders asking for more and more and more robust insights. Now you're in a mature spot where a lot of the users understand the data and are using it to help answer business questions. So sit on that for a second. And my question for you is, as you look at some of these, and again, it's not an end-all be-all phase. You could be in a variety of different spots here. How many people would say that they're in the laying the foundation phase? Okay, so a handful. How about driving adoption? Okay, very good. Expanding analytics. Okay, so we have a little bit of a mixed bag. And that's what we were assuming, Cori and I, as we put this together. So the reason I say that is because in this next part of our session, we want to delve a little bit into enhancing reporting based off of personas. And we figured quite a few of you might be sitting in the driving adoption. But what you need to understand as we move through some of this is at any point in time, you can create specific personas for your reporting. And it's not necessarily a difficult thing to do. It's more about understanding the benefits and the who's going into that. And so that's where we're going to transition next. So as we think about the benefits of reporting personas, and actually I should ask this question, how many people have persona-based reporting set up? Okay, a few of you. Okay, good. So this will be somewhat new to most of you. So there are really 6 reasons why we would want to do persona-based reporting. So we have tailored insights, we have improved communication, better decision-making, enhanced stakeholder engagement, strategic alignment, and increased efficiencies. So let me give you some examples of what I mean by a few of these. Tailored insights. We get this question a lot when partnering on this exercise of, I have a frontline store manager, and initially we set up our reporting and we gave them everything in the kitchen sink. But now we understand that the store manager, frontline employee, really only needs a handful of things in reporting. They may need their KPIs, the key drivers, verbatim comments, potentially access to closed-loop feedback if they're the ones that are handling the resolution. But they don't need all the bells and whistles. They may not even need to filter any data. They might want a ranking report. But the point being, very simple things that they need in order to do their job. However, on the flip side, you may have somebody that is far more analytical and needs a lot of different bells and whistles in their reporting. Maybe it's a marketing director or a digital insights person. The point here about the tailored insights is it is not a one-size-fits-all. We have to understand what's in it for that user role. What are they trying to accomplish in their role to help support and be successful to help improve your CX and EX programs? Another example, and we did this recently with a large retail company, is they were having a very hard time with strategic alignment. And the reason for that is a very siloed organization. So they had multiple survey channels, which was great. We had a lot of data coming in, but the messaging was different. So if I'm the digital team, I'm getting one message from the data that's coming in. Contact center is receiving another. Store ops is receiving another. So what the key stakeholders said, we need some sort of alignment. We need some sort of holistic look at what's going on across all of these survey channels. So what can we do to make sure that it's an omni-channel type of approach? I can see everything. I can make some comparisons. And so going through these different persona exercises was really trying to understand how do we bring all of this together to make sure that you see the full picture of what's really going on. You know, we keep telling all of you, you need more survey channels, more signals, more all of these things. But the reality is, if we're not bringing it together in reporting, it's very, very hard to have a unified messaging across the organization of how you plan to become more CX-centric, EX-centric. The last one I'll leave you with is increased efficiencies, and this is probably one that we hear the most. I have people that are spending far too much time pulling data, manual reporting, those types of things. Some of that just simply comes down to needing more of an education on the functionality of reporting. Some of it is we just simply don't understand what they're trying to accomplish when pulling this type of data. Nonetheless, We don't want to hear from organizations that, hey, I have somebody that's spending 8 hours every month pulling data, exporting it, piecing it together, those types of things. So again, one of the benefits of the persona-based reporting is really understanding what some of these key roles within your organization are looking to get out of the data, make sure that they're set up for success, and we're decreasing some of those inefficiencies. So let's switch gears a little bit to identifying the who, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this. This is an example. It is going to look different for each one of you in your organization, but the purpose of showing this is to give you a flavor for you have a lot of different people in your organization, a lot of different roles and responsibilities. And oftentimes, Cori and I find that there's pieces of your org chart that are utilizing the CX or EX type of program. But ultimately, as you think about maturing your program, you want to build this out. You want everybody to have a piece of the pie, if you will, as we're creating more opportunities to ingest feedback. So as you look at something like that, think about your own org. And the reality is that each one of these individuals probably has a different strategic initiative or a strategic plan. They may cross over on occasion, right? But ultimately, they may say, hey, Jeni, I have this particular initiative that I am responsible for in the next year, and I have to deliver on it. And there's a lot of expectations riding on it. How do I use reporting to my full advantage? So that's how we're thinking about this with personas. So I won't read through all of these, but I also just wanted to give you some examples of different types of personas that we often see in these exercises. So we may sit down with somebody from the digital team and asking them, hey, what are your daily responsibilities? What are the things that you're responsible for? What is important to you? And these are so important. You guys have all heard about what's in it for me. We've all heard that terminology before. Reporting is not any different. We still need to drive engagement and adoption by setting up reporting in a very similar way to make sure that they feel as if we're giving them the necessary tools to be successful. So this runs across the gamut, and I will call out this again. You kind of keep hearing me mention CX and EX. Persona-based reporting, it doesn't matter if you just have a CX program or just have an EX program. It applies across the board. So a persona-based exercise could be done with a human resources person. It really doesn't matter. The point, again, is just thinking about what is important to these individuals that have access to the data, what are they trying to do with the data, and how can we arm them with the best functionality that we possibly can with reporting. So before I pass it to Cori, she's going to take you through this journey. So this is an example of Aaliyah, and going through the exercise with her. She's an insights manager. And we had some conversations just to get a feel for exactly what I've been explaining, right? So what is it that she needs to be able to accomplish in her job? What's important to her? Omnichannel is one of those things. As an insights manager, maybe some of you are insights managers in here, you understand and can probably relate to some of the things that she's trying to accomplish. But what really stuck with us is that quote at the very bottom. My credibility is tied to the success of our Medallia solution. That's a lot, right? And we wouldn't be good partners if we ignored that and just let her flail as she's going through reporting. So we paid very, very close attention to that. And she also shared with us what she was trying to accomplish, which is very critical as well. If you're not having conversations like this, we need to be having conversations with these individuals. Basically, it came down for her that contact center was very much an initiative that's going to be top priority in the upcoming year. And leadership had challenged her to go into the data and the reporting to make sure that they understood any types of variability for contact center versus any of the other channels that we were capturing data for. And what was driving that, which seems very, very simple, but you guys know this, and you can probably argue that sometimes it doesn't feel simple to go into reporting and find the necessary root causes, and then take that back to leadership to tell a story. So what we'd like to do now, and Cori's going to take us through this, is we want to take you through her journey understanding what her needs were, understanding what it was going to take for her to be successful in reporting.
Hello, everyone. You thought my name was Cori. I am actually going to be Aaliyah for the next 10, 12 minutes. So here we are today. I am Aaliyah. What matters to me is finding the insights and delivering it to my organization. So as I'm thinking about what I've been asked to do to support the organization, I'm going to really walk you through how Medallia has helped me identify problems as well as unify signals, investigate root causes, find fixes, and measure success. All critical elements for insights personas like me. So I start on the overview dashboard. This is currently showing NPS across all business lines and channels. So this view helps me synthesize those disparate signals coming in to create that omni-channel voice of the customer, which aggregates scores across the journey, and it also shows overall sentiment. This again can be a complement to your EX program as well. So this setup allows myself as a user to easily identify areas for improvement, especially as I look across the contact center, which I've identified to my Medallia team as an area of opportunity and something my organization has tasked me to focus on. I have then received a notification. Hopefully all of you are utilizing your notification alerts. If not, certainly inquire with your PS team on how to do that. That is one of the easiest ways to track those critical KPIs. With my notification bell, I have shown that contact center, knowing it's a key focus, has dropped dramatically over the past 3 months. So I can click on that, I can then see that notification. Then clicking directly into contact center, and a few of you have heard me talk about this already, but I have really found that the side panel that pops out from the contact center has been very valuable to me. So what I have found is significant metric changes. In this case, we're seeing declines in KPIs. We're also seeing our credit card rewards have an increase in call duration, obviously a very costly call, and an extreme negative impact on NPS, including a high intent to potentially churn. So after looking at that, I can dig directly into those credit card rewards. In closing my side panel, I am able to see the credit card rewards and understand that I am once again seeing declines in NPS, an impact to churn, and it's the travel rewards. Those travel rewards, obviously that red really stands out to me, thinking about the impact and also that percent of responses. So travel rewards has been identified as that specific problem. In clicking into that, I can see here I am at SNS Travel that is continuously declining. I have high operational costs, including servicing costs and revenue at risk, but it's those millennials that are showing me they have the biggest possibility of churn. By integrating those additional data sources, I've really gained a holistic view of the complete picture. In closing this, I can continue to scroll down and I can see what topics are impacted. So looking at the theme Explorer, we can see as well as related emotions, and then CLF insights to really complete the picture. Understanding that travel rewards customers, they just don't feel they are receiving the value they once felt with that card. So Medallia's analytics and AI have really helped me pinpoint the problem and understand the necessary actions and then grasp the impact. So now that I've identified the problem and quantified what that opportunity is in an effort to reduce churn, I'm going to utilize the action plans. And some of you may be utilizing this already, but you can find this up here in the top ribbon, and these action plans will really help me manage CX initiatives, track milestones, align my stakeholders, and measure impact. So that really helps to foster that culture of collaboration, experimentation, and visibility into next steps. And we all know in these insights roles, one of the things we have to do is experiment. And sometimes it's failing forward to continuously innovate and find the next step within your organization. So as I see, I've created a plan with decreasing travel award card churn. So in clicking into this, I'm able to identify the task, and I will share this out to my stakeholders. First, I will send out a survey to millennials about card value. I will then analyze results and align on business impact. And then I will run a marketing campaign to test this new approach. And in all of that, I will continue to track churn intent to understand these cardholders and how we will continue to track this. So in doing so, we navigate to TX profiles. Some of you may be using this already. In the TX profiles, what this has done for me is identified millennial travel card holders and helps me understand the value. So TX profiles lets me create curated lists and workflows, drilling into individual customer profiles for a full view. So with this segmentation, I've combined Medallia's data, text analytics, intelligence flags, demographic, and operational data, really to create this precise customer list. And then I can export this list to use in workflows to create an ad hoc survey to send out to these millennials. So in doing so, I will go ahead and go into Admin Suite to create that ad hoc survey. So we know that we have the capability to create ad hoc surveys within Admin Suite, and I go through this process in clicking here. Within Admin Suite, I build out the ad hoc survey. You can find ways to do so if you're unfamiliar in how to utilize ad hoc survey in Medallia Navigator as well. So we have the travel rewards improvement survey built out. I've also included Medallia video in this to gather quick feedback from my millennial card holders. So Admin Suite helps me simplify the feedback collection and allows me to identify the results quickly. So I've sent the survey now, and I've had the opportunity to review the additional feedback. And what I've learned are some of my top suggestions from this is not only my travel rewards card members, again, we've found they're not finding the value, and can see Medallia video. You would have the opportunity to review what your millennials are saying. Again, topics and sentiments are identified within Medallia video because it is processed through text analytics. So now that we have a solution and understand, we know that the next step is to launch and test the marketing campaign. So going back in to TX profiles, this will help me pull together a contact list for campaign orchestration that I will then integrate seamlessly into my organization's marketing cloud or Salesforce. Again, TX profiles helps me curate this specific list of travel rewards upsell and helps me identify retention. So within the marketing dashboard, after I've sent this, again, many of you have the opportunity to switch roles, but then you can see after you've sent that final survey around your travel rewards benefits and upsells, you can see your core KPIs. They are trending positively. I am able to report out to my organization that the A/B test is showing an increase in NPS, an increase in conversion percentage, and a decrease in churn. Therefore, reminding my customers of the non-travel benefits that they have at their fingertips. I also am provided both direct and indirect feedback based on the survey that was sent. So in summary, I used Medallia to find and analyze customer data, identify issues, find solutions, and drive business outcomes. So from identifying a drop in the contact center NPS via my notification bell, to improving travel rewards cardholder retention. This end-to-end process helped me really achieve significant business results and really contributes to my organization's confidence, both in myself and Medallia. So we can open it up for any Q&A. If you have any questions about the reporting, we have some mic runners in the back.
So this is the second time I've seen the suggested actions module, which I absolutely love, but no one has said, where does that data come from? Is it internal, external, a combination? Who makes those suggestions?
Yeah, let me go back to those suggested actions to show that to you. So this is coming from topics based upon the ad hoc survey that was sent, so coming from the verbatim comments.
So if it wasn't an ad hoc survey, could you still have this option?
I'm sure that is available.
Okay.
We could probably put that in based upon your text analytics feedback.
Thank you.
You use the ad hoc tool in Admin Suite to send out the survey to the millennials.
Correct.
And could you talk about like the pros or cons of using the Agile tool instead of the ad hoc tool?
That is one where I would feel like ad hoc in this situation would probably be a quicker hit because you've been able to identify your fixes, create your list and move forward with ad hoc, where agile, I think though a great use case, I think you're just asking a subset of questions. And that's why the ad hoc was chosen for this. Jeni, any other thoughts on why agile or why ad hoc versus agile?
I think that this is just a good, I think you could probably do both is the answer to that question. But I think it also depends on the sophistication of those that are using it and an education to just make sure that we're touching on the right things for whoever the user is that's going to be administering that.
So for a lot of the reporting that you showed, you utilized a % churn metric, which I would love to add to my reporting. Did that stem from a question, or what's the best practices on getting that?
So I think
risk?
in that situation, that was coming from operational data brought in to Medallia.
Yeah, which I know can be sometimes the challenge.
Yeah.
And we understand in this particular demonstration, some of you may be thinking, well, that's great. We'd love to have all of that. But this is a great art of the possible for this particular scenario. But I do think that there are other opportunities, just to give you a flavor of what we can do, that would still allow us to, hopefully get you some updated reporting modules and things like that. But it's not an uncommon question. Where's the data coming from? Where do you need it? Yep.
I have a question. So I think the personas is an add-on, correct? Like if you don't currently have it, you'd have to pay for it? Or is it a free add-on? Same with TX profiles. And then if you're currently bringing in data from your CDM into your program, can you get a % churn model added to like your basic program without having personas or the profiles? Like, is this stuff still available for just like basic text analytics? Like to cut some of these data, like that suggestions or the action plan module, or do we have to buy into the personas and the text?
You don't have to buy into the personas, no. Okay. And that's what I mean. It doesn't really matter where you're at in your reporting maturity. You probably have seen a couple of different things that, again, you want to introduce into your own reporting. It does not require you to go through the persona-based exercise. It's just really understanding what kind of data we can ingest and what's available when you're passing that to us.
One of the things I was hoping to see was maybe instead of not just a deep dive on one insights persona, because like this dashboard to me is more like an executive looking across channels, right? Like digital contact center. If what we've thought is like doing personas is like, hey, if you're in the contact center, you only care about the contact center stuff.
That is correct.
Maybe it's a suggestion for future sessions, but like how the visualizations look for different roles. And if you sign in as a contact center person, you only see contact center stuff.
That's right.
If you're an insights or admin, you would definitely see it all. Does Medallia have any thoughts, best practices, visualizations of, hey, if you're marketing, this is kind of a good setup for marketing. Contact center, here's your setup. Insights, maybe you want to see it all.
Yep.
Executives, just top line. That's kind of what I was hoping to get some brainstorming and visualizations out of, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'd love to say that we have several hours to cover all of that. The truth is that the Insights Manager gives you the opportunity to get a flavor of a little bit of everything, but what you're describing is exactly what we would do based off of that persona. So we do have examples that we can share, contact center, digital team members, those types of things. Do we have some of those in the appendix?
So there are some in the appendix, just to give you an idea. Here's a contact center team lead situation. So when I am thinking of as a contact center team lead, what I want to focus on, and Jeni kind of touched on this early on with the front line, obviously what's important to me is looking across my alerts, seeing what I need to action upon, and then how my team is doing. And then you can see call experience scores, the trends, and then reasons for either a poor experience or a great experience there as you think about agent quality, et cetera. So this is one of those opportunities where you can think about what do they really need to see as they move forward in their role.
We did want to leave you with one slide that does have a bit of a call to action.
So in that, quick call to action just for you all as we think about moving forward. We know feedback is a gift, so anytime you can, please leave us feedback about the session. Love some of the thoughts on what you'd like to see. There will be some information in the appendix, but as you think about really growing your maturity and raising your reporting game, ourselves as CXAs and obviously your Medallia team would love to partner with you. So thinking about engagement and adoption, as Jeni has said, and I think that really goes to play into that piece of what does that user need to see as they log into Medallia. And by creating something easy for them, the what's in it for me, that really goes to increase your engagement and adoption. Obviously, the art of storytelling, that's a little bit of what we did with Aaliyah today to really help her take a lot of this data and synthesize it into something that she could then create an action plan and bring into her organization and show the opportunities that exist and why they do exist. And obviously persona-based reporting, so Jeni touched a lot on that, but it is something that we really want to help you focus on within your organization to think about, that strategy of are we asking the right questions and are we showing them the right set of data? So we do have a few additional resources. Obviously, visit the Experience Hub if you haven't yet. Spend some time in there, see some of the latest and greatest. If you have an opportunity, the Meet the Experts still remains for the next couple hours. We have some Navigator courses listed that could really help you kind of lay that foundation of understanding role-based reporting within Medallia, as well as reaching out to your account team. That's what they're here for. That's an opportunity to do an audit, think about the gaps that you might have in your reporting as it exists. Sometimes, often we stand up reporting and then we go on with our lives just like many other things. So identifying those gaps and then thinking about Medallia user group. That's always a great way to ask questions of your other industry peers and what kind of reporting they're utilizing. So thank you all. I appreciate your patience with some of this fun technical stuff.